Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me today for this live lesson. If you don't know me, my name is Helen. I'm a head teacher here at Los Angeles English School, and today we're going to talk about present simple and daily routines. By the way, this webinar is for beginners or elementary level learners, but if you happen to be at different level, you can check our schedule. It's on the banner of our YouTube channel, and you can join us on a different day. So you can just check the dates when you can join us. And if you are a beginner or an elementary level student, you're very welcome for our today's lesson. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, so I encourage you to hit the subscribe button, and also you can click on the bell icon so that you can get notifications about our upcoming webinars and all our new videos. Alright, so let's get started today. As I said, we're going to talk about present simple, and we will learn how to talk about your daily routine. All right. Okay, so today, as I said, let's talk about present simple. And guys, I have a question here for you. So maybe you have already learned something about the present simple. And first, we need to understand when to use present simple. So we use present simple when we talk about things we do. And now I have a little quiz for you. So for actions that are happening now at the moment, or usually every day. So guys, what do you think? When do we use present simple? Now at the moment, or usually every day? So we use the present simple when we talk about actions that we do usually or every day. So these are our everyday routines. I wake up in the morning at 9 o'clock. I have breakfast and so on. Or so something that happens normally. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be looking at, we will take a look at how to make present simple. And I hope, guys, that you already know this, but I'd like you to write your answers in the comments, in the chat box, sorry, and try to communicate with me so I will see maybe you know already everything about it. So, how to make the present simple, how to form it. So if you have positive sentences, if you want to make a statement for I, you, we, and they, you just take a verb infinitive without to. For example, you maybe try and learn English every day. So you would say, I learn English every day. And I hope, guys, that you learn English every day. I learn English every day. You learn English every day. We learn English every day. By the way, if you have this chance, I encourage you to say after me out loud. So, I learn English every day. You learn English every day. We learn English every day. They learn English every day. So if we have he, she, or it, what do you think becomes, what happens with learn? What do you think? So instead of learn English, so for he, she, it, you would add s to the verb. And you will say, he learns English every day. She learns English every day. And it learns English every day. So, of course, you cannot say it because it is usually for things or animals, but for practice, so let's practice. So, it learns English every day. Okay, so what happens when we have a negative sentence? So guys, what do you think you will say if you wanna make it negative? So for example, someone is lazy and I, you, we, or they, you can say don't learn English every day. So you will need to use the helping verb or auxiliary verb don't. So let's drill it. I don't learn English every day. You don't learn English every day. We don't learn English every day. They don't learn English every day. If you have he, she, or it, what do you think you will say? Instead of don't learn English every day, what will happen with this don't learn? So if you know the answer, you can type your answers in the chat box. So guys, what do you think? How will you say it for he, she, or it? So how will you make it negative? Yeah, so to make it negative, you will say doesn't. So we have doesn't learn English, she doesn't learn English, and it doesn't learn English. If you want to make a question, and for example, you want to say, oh, do you do this? So for I, you, we, and they, how will you start yes or no question? So what do you think? What helping verb will you use? Okay, so for I, you, they, you will use do. And you will say do I learn English? Do you learn English? Do we learn English? Do they learn English? What guys do you think happens with he, she, or it? What auxiliary verb will you use here? So type your answers in the chat box. Oh, I know, I see your comments and I see some of my students here. So, hi, nice to see you here. And Victoria also. Yeah, so you will say does. So the question will be, does he learn English? Does she learn English? Does it learn English? So here we have yes or no questions. But if you want to make a question with a question word, for example, you want to know when or where or how, you just put this question word in the beginning. So here you have, for example, where do you learn English? So you just put this question word at the very beginning. Or, for example, how does he learn English? Or how does she learn English? So you put the question word at the very beginning of the sentence. And make sure if you have a yes no question, then the intonation will go up. For example, do you learn English? Does she learn English? If you have a question word in your question, your intonation, what do you think? Where will it go? So it will go down. And you stress the question words. Where do you learn English? How does she learn English? Okay, so I hope it's clear. This is how we form present simple. And now we're going to practice a little bit. All right, guys, thanks for your comments. And let's go on and let's take a look at some examples. So, as I said before, we use the present simple for actions we do usually every day. For example, I drink coffee every morning. He usually gets up at 7 o'clock. Now what we need to do is we'll focus a little bit on spelling. So because when you write a verb for he, she, or it, you need to add s to the main verb. And here you can see some rules. So normally we will just add s. I mean spelling, you will just write it, works or gets up. But if you have a verb that finishes in s, double s, sh, ch, x, and o, you will add es. For example, goes, you will write es. Watches, you will write es. For example, he watches TV. One more detail, if you have a verb that finishes in a vowel and then you have Y at the end, you just add S. For example, says, he says, or plays, she plays basketball. However, if you have a consonant and then Y, you have to change Y into I, and then you would add ES. For example, tries or flies. So this is something that you need to bear in mind if you're going to write the sentences. So now we're going to take a look at some vocabulary. It's very simple, and what I'd like you to do, you see the picture on the screen, and I'd like you to guess a word. So what does it mean? If you know the answer, type it please in your chat box. Don't be shy and really participate in our lesson today. Yeah, I see some answers. So, wake up. And if you can, I'd like you to say it out loud. If you can't, just think about this word. Wake up. So we wake up in the morning. What is this? What does she do? Get up. Get up. Get up. So wake up is just when you open your eyes in the morning, and get up as you actually stand up from your bed. Get up. Okay. Go to work. Go to work. Go home. Go home. Go to bed. Go to bed. Sleep. Sleep. All right, and now I have some questions for you. So what I actually like you to do now, guys, is to really participate, and I want you, so for example, if you are now here with me during this webinar, I'd like you to type your answers in the chat box. And if you happened just to watch this video replay, you can pause the video and write your answers in the comments, or just stop and think how you are going to be answering these questions. All right, so the first question here is, what time do you usually get up? What time do you usually get up? Can you answer this question, please? You know, guys, I'll help you a bit. I'm going to answer the question. So I usually get up at 7 o'clock. So you can say at 7 o'clock or at 7. I think it's clear that we get up in the morning, and make sure that you use preposition at. So I get up at 7 o'clock. I get up at 7 o'clock. Great, Kate. Victoria usually get up at 9 o'clock. Super. Okay, thanks for your answers. Let's go to our next question. And our next question is, what time do you usually get up on the weekend? So Americans would say on the weekend. The British would say at the weekend. on the weekend or at the weekend. So guys, at what time do you usually get up on the weekend? Type your answers. And my answer is on the weekend or at the weekend. On the weekend, I usually get up at 9 o'clock. So make sure if you want to practice American English, it's on the weekend. If you want to be like the British, at the weekend. So at the weekend, I get up at 10. I have some answers. 10. So you like to sleep. Okay. So let's move on. And the next question that I have for you guys is what time does your wife or your husband usually wake up? So if you are married and you have a wife or you have a husband, when does he or she usually wake up? And my answer. I am married. I have a husband. So my husband usually gets up. Make sure that you add S because it's he. Gets up at, I think it's at 9. Yeah. So my husband usually gets up at 9 o'clock. Sometimes at 8, different time. Okay, and when does your wife or your husband usually get up? So I have some answers. Kate, my husband usually gets up at 7 o'clock. So I think that Kate, your husband, gets up together with you. Yeah, you get up at 7 and he gets up at 7. Okay. All right, let's move on. And we have the next question. When do you usually go to work? When do you usually go to work? So I usually go to work. I usually go to work at different times. Sometimes at 7:30, then you don't need a clock. So if it's 7:30, no o'clock. You can say half past 7 if you speak 7:30 or 7:30. So I usually go to work at 7:30. Or when my lessons start a little bit later, I can go to work at 8:30. 8:30 will be 8:30. So when do you go to work? I have some answers. I usually go to work at 8:30. And Alex writes at 9. Okay. Right, the next question for you guys. So your husband, okay, at what time do you usually come home? When do you usually come home? So I usually come home. So normally it's very late. I actually come home at 9 p.m. So PM, it means in the evening in our case. So PM is starting from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 12 o'clock at midnight. So it's PM. So 9 PM in the evening. When do you usually come home? So I usually come home at 7, earlier than me. All right. The next question here is, do you work on Sundays? Do you work on Sundays? So I don't work on Sundays. By the way, Sundays is spelled with the capital letter, so days of the week is always are always capitalized. And we use on with days of the week. I don't work on Sundays. However, now I'm streaming this webinar, so let's imagine it's not a very difficult job that I'm doing, so I only stream on Sundays. So I don't work on Sundays, like I don't have real lessons and I don't go to school and I don't have real conversations with students. So we have I never work on Sundays, Victoria, and Kate, I don't work on Sundays, okay? Okay, don't forget Sundays spelled with the capital letter. Okay, the next question is, do you work at night? Do you work at night? Like police officers or firefighters or some shop assistants, they work at night. Do you work at night? So I never work at night. So if you have night, you would say at night. And if you use never, you don't need don't. It's already negative. I never work at night. So what are your answers? No, I don't. No, I don't work at night. Okay. And we have some more questions. So the last question here, what time do you usually go to bed? What time do you usually go to bed? So I usually go to bed at 12 o'clock. So you also can say it's 12 o'clock, it's midnight. So I would say I usually go to bed at 12 o'clock, or I can say at midnight. So 12 o'clock, it's midnight. So at what time do you usually go to bed? Victoria at midnight, Alex 1 a.m. Oh, very late. And Kate goes to bed at 9 p.m. It's pretty early, but I think it's very healthy. Yeah, it's great. All right. So let's go on. We have some more verbs. So what is this? What do they do in the morning? Just guess a word and type your word in the comments. In the comments if you're watching a replay, and in the chat box if you are taking part in this webinar. So have breakfast. Have breakfast. In the morning, people have breakfast. I suppose she's at work, and I think it's the middle of the day. It's have lunch. Have lunch. By the way, if it is she has lunch. And it's in the evening. They have dinner. Have dinner. So in the evening, we have dinner. And we have some questions. And the first question is, do you always have breakfast before you go to work? Do you have breakfast before you go to work? So I always, 100% of the time, I always have breakfast before I go to work. So I always have breakfast. Do you have breakfast before you go to work? You can say, I never, like I don't have breakfast. I sometimes have breakfast. Maybe you skip breakfast. So, what about you? Do you always have breakfast? Yes, we have. Or I always have breakfast before to work. So, Kate, before I go to work, or you can say before work. Before work. Victoria, I sometimes skip breakfast. Alex always has breakfast. Okay. And we have our next question. At what time do you usually have breakfast? At what time do you usually have breakfast? So I have breakfast, like I usually have breakfast at around 10. So you can say o'clock or 10 a.m. or just 10 because it's understandable that we have breakfast in the morning. So you don't need to specify that it's morning. So I usually have breakfast at around 10. Around, it means approximately, about, not exactly, like at around 10 o'clock, or you can say at about 10 o'clock or at about 10. So when do you guys usually have breakfast? So we have some answers. Kate, I usually have breakfast at 7:30. Victoria, I usually have breakfast at 9:30 a.m. Okay, Alex at 9. Great. Thanks. So the next question, what time and where do you have lunch? What time and where? Where means at home, in a cafe, or maybe you go to a restaurant. So, or maybe you visit your mom. What time and where do you have lunch? So, I usually have lunch at home at about 1 or 1 o'clock. So, what about you guys? If you have it at home, you would need to say at home. You can say also at work or in my office or in a cafe. So let's check what you guys have. So I normally have lunch at about 14, so means 2 at home. Alex at home. Kate, I have lunch at work at 12 o'clock. Thanks for your participation, guys. Let's move on to the next question. The next question is, what time and where do you have dinner? What time and where do you have dinner? So I usually have dinner at home. Home. No, it's at about 6 p.m. or sometimes 6:30. So when and where do you have your dinner? So Kate, I have dinner at home at 8. Alex has dinner at home also at 8. And Victoria has dinner also at home. So at home at 7:30. All right. Thanks, guys, for your answers. And we're going to move on. And we have the next question. The next question is, where do you usually go after work? Where do you usually go after work? So you finish your work and where do you go? Do you go home or maybe you go somewhere else? So after work, after work, I usually, not to say usually you can say I generally or normally. After work, I generally, or usually, or I normally go home. Go home. There is no preposition. You go to work, you go to school, you go to a cafe, but you go home. So let's check your answers. Alex goes home. Kate also goes home. All right, thanks, guys. Let's move on to some more words. So here we have something that we can eat. So I chose just some simple foods. So pay attention that when you eat something or you drink and you want to say the type of meal, whether it's breakfast or lunch or dinner, you would say for. For example, I have a sandwich for breakfast. I eat some porridge for lunch, or I usually eat meat with rice for dinner. So for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. And say with me, guys, some food. So we have bread, bread, cheese, cheese, rice, rice, fish, fish, sandwich, sandwich. By the way, you can say sandwich, but usually no one pronounces d. It sounds like sandwich, sandwich. Meat, meat. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Porridge, porridge, porridge. Cereal, cereal. And to drink, water. So you can say water with a true T, or you can make it water, water. Juice, juice. Tea, tea. Coffee, coffee. Milk, milk. All right, and of course, some questions for you. What do you usually have for breakfast? What do you usually have for breakfast? So I I usually, or normally, or generally, I usually have cereal with milk for breakfast. Make sure that it's for breakfast. What guys do you eat for breakfast? Okay, Kate, I have porridge for breakfast. Victoria usually has oatmeal with some fruit and tea. Nice, yummy. Right, let's move on. The next, what do you usually have for lunch? So guys, what do you usually have for lunch? So I usually have I usually have a sandwich. I don't remember how to spell sandwich, so sorry guys. I will check this. Really don't remember. Sandwich. For lunch. So I usually have a sandwich for lunch and I drink tea. So guys, what do you usually have for lunch? So Victoria, I normally have chicken soup or mashed potatoes with meat for lunch. Kate has rice and meat for lunch. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What do you usually have for dinner? What do you usually have for dinner? So guys, I usually have rice with fish or meat for dinner. Of course, I can have different food, but this is just an example. So I can say I like to have rice with fish or meat for dinner. And how about you? So Victoria usually has some vegetable salad and rice for dinner. Kate has salad for dinner. So salad is spelled with D. Make sure it's salad. Okay, and one more question is, do you eat chocolate every day? Do you eat chocolate every day or no? So guys, I don't eat chocolate every day. Do you eat chocolate every day? I like chocolate. It's hard not to eat chocolate every day, but I don't do it. It's unhealthy. So guys, do you eat chocolate every day? Alex eats chocolate every day. Okay. And Victoria seldom eats chocolate. All right, and the next question is, how much coffee do you drink? And what coffee do you like? How much coffee do you drink? And what coffee do you like? And I answer this question as an example for you. So guys, I drink 1 cup of coffee every day. And I like coffee with milk. So I like coffee with milk and sugar. So cup of coffee, actually usually it sounds like cup of coffee. Instead of you would just say but it's only you say it, you don't write it. So I drink 1 cup of coffee every day. I drink coffee with milk and sugar. So Kate drinks 1 cup of coffee every day. Make sure it's 1 cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee, 1 cup. Okay. Thank you guys for your answers, and we are going to move on. So, what is this? Can you guess a word? Have a shower or take a shower. Have a shower, take a shower. Have a bath, take a bath. Have a bath, take a bath. Brush teeth. Brush teeth. You also can say clean teeth. Get dressed. Get dressed. I get dressed and go to work. Leave. So she's leaving home, or you can say, I leave home and go to work. So leave home, it's I open the door and I go somewhere. And if you want to say how long you do something, for example, I usually have breakfast for 10 or 15 minutes, you would say 4. So 60 minutes is 1 hour or an hour. So for an hour, for an hour. 30 minutes is half an hour, half an hour, for half an hour. 60 minutes plus 30 minutes would be an hour and a half. Usually, and is pronounced like n if you combine two words together. An hour and a half, and a half, for an hour and a half. For example, I usually cook my dinner for an hour and a half. All right, so, and I have some questions for you. How long do you usually have a shower for? Or take a shower for? How long do you usually have a shower for? Type your answers. So I usually have a shower or take a shower for, I think, for about 15 minutes. For 15 minutes. What about you guys? Alex takes a shower for 5 minutes. It's very quickly. Maybe because you're a man. And Victoria usually has a shower for 10 or 20 minutes. Okay, the same as me. All right. So I have one more question for you. No. So let's let's skip some questions because we don't have a lot of time. And my next question for you is, how long do you usually get dressed? How long do you get dressed? You get ready and you go to work. How long do you get dressed? I normally get dressed for, I think for 10 minutes. Just check that everything is nice and I look smart. So how long, guys, do you usually get dressed? Alex gets dressed for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's fast. All right. So now we will practice something else, and it's gonna be this. So we will do a little exercise. So because we need to practice using a verb in the present simple for he, she, and it, where we need to add s. And usually, sometimes it's a problem because students forget about that. So let's get started. So now you see, this is Sally and this is her day. You can see different pictures, and what I'd like you to do is let's think together, what verb do we need to insert here? And let's use it in the correct form. So, Sally usually wakes up at 6 o'clock. And first, what does she do? You can type your answers in the chat box, or you can write your answers in the comments if you're watching a replay. First, she has a shower for 10 minutes. So she has a shower for 10 minutes, or you also can say she takes a shower. So she has a shower for 10 minutes, or she takes a shower for 10 minutes. Then what does she do? Then she gets dressed. She gets dressed. Afterwards is the synonym of then. Afterwards, she has breakfast with her family. So she has breakfast with her family. She leaves home. So she leaves home. She opens the door and goes to work. Number 6, to work by subway. So you can say she gets to work. You also can say she goes to work. It's okay. So she gets to work or she goes to work by subway. Number 7, she has lunch at work at 1 o'clock. She has lunch at work at 1 o'clock. Finally, it's at the end of her day. Finally, she home at 6:30. She comes home at 6:30. Or you also can say 6:30. So, I hope that you did well. Yeah, I can see some answers that you're typing. Great, thanks. All right. And now let's move on. We will do one more exercise very quickly. Oops. Yeah. Okay. So usually prepositions can be tricky, and when we talk about our day, we normally say when we do things. And here I have a little quiz for you. We have prepositions in, on, or at. And I'd like you to think what we need to use with these words. So when we have 8 o'clock or night or the weekend as a British version, will you say in 8 o'clock or on or at? So the answer is at. So you will say at 8 o'clock, I go to work at 8 o'clock, at night, I don't work at night. And the British would say at the weekend. They go to a cafe at the weekend. What do you think about these words? Monday or Friday evening or the weekend for Americans? Is it in, on, or at? So it's on. On Monday. He comes on Mondays. On Friday evening. On the weekend, the American version. And the last one, of course, we can see it's in. In summer, kids don't go to school in summer. April, my birthday is in April. In the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings. Okay, guys, so, and finally, I have little homework for you. And this homework is, so you can see again, we have here our Sally's Day. And what I'd like you to do is type in the comments below the video when our stream is over. Can you write about your day? So what do you do during the day? When do you wake up? When do you go to work? When do you finish work? What do you have for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner? Practice and type your answers, please. And we are coming to the end of our webinar. I see it's time to finish. Okay, so guys, that's it for today, and I'd like to thank you for being with me. It was so pleasant to see your comments and to see that someone was with me during the webinar. Thank you so much. Don't forget to do your homework, even if you are watching a replay and you had to stop the video and answer the questions in the comments instead of the chat box. So guys, I hope to see you in my next webinar, and or maybe I'll have some new videos and you can check it here. So again, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the bell icon to get notifications of our next webinars. Thank you so much. And by the way, if you want to study with us on Skype and have real lessons, you can visit our website, losangeles.englishschool.com, and check the information on that. So, bye and have a very nice day.